Hey guys, I thought I would take just a little deviation from my usual faceless podcast format to discuss a few things that you might find interesting behind the scenes about YouTube. When I look at my analytics in the back end of YouTube, it tells me that the average viewer that wants to see videos about the Philippines, the huge chunk of them are in the 50 to 65 age range, and they're males, and they're something like 70-80% are in the United States, with the rest of them being in Canada, Europe, Australia. So these are, it doesn't give me this information, but I would wager these are guys who are retired, nearing retirement, single, whether it be widowed or divorced, and they're interested in and looking into a life abroad, specifically the Philippines. So that's the kind of viewer that many of you are. There's a very tiny amount that are actually women or Filipinas or, whatever. It's mostly, again, older retired guys. Now, in the last few years, more and more Filipinas have been doing channels about the Philippines. After all, it's kind of like it's a perfect setup. If you're gonna get information about the Philippines, you may as well get it from some cute Filipina, and build up a sort of a belief that you're getting to know her. Again, that's a whole other subject. You really don't know somebody just watching them on YouTube. Anyways, so for Filipinas, now that everybody's got a smartphone in the Philippines, the data plans are very affordable. It's not like you have to go to a PesoNet little studio, down the block or something. It's very easy for Filipinas to start a channel. And so what happens is, let's say you got a channel and it's a Filipina and it becomes popular. And part of the allure there, why these channels become very big, is because as guys watch this, they continue to flock to that channel and the subscriber rate goes up because there's this feeling like, I feel like I know her. I feel like we could get along. In fact, maybe if I go to the Philippines and I contact her, who knows? She might end up being my girlfriend. So there's this unspoken allure that you could actually get to meet her. You have a chance to hook up with this Filipina. So what a lot of these Filipino vloggers will do to maintain that allure in the channel is they won't mention if they have a boyfriend. They just won't, because then all the interest is lost. Guys are like, I'm not going to watch her. There's no chance I'll ever hook up with her. She's already married. She's got a boyfriend, whatever. Somebody beat me to the punch. What other Filipinas are available? And they know this. So if they do have a boyfriend or they do have a husband, he's put on the back. He's never even mentioned, Now you do have channels where the allure is not single Filipina girl. It's Filipina girl with her husband, often an expat, and they're sharing their family life together or their married life together. You can probably think of several channels that are like this, either in Vietnam or Philippines, where it's the couple and you're experiencing their travel as a couple, and it's very upfront. This Filipina is married, or she's with a permanent partner, whatever, but she's not available. And so the attraction in those kind of videos is watching the dynamics in the couple. How do they deal with travel situations, solving problems, how happy are they with life in the Philippines, whatever. That's more the attraction, not is this Filipina single and possibly available. See, there's a big difference. Now, the other thing that happens is, and I don't think enough Filipinas realize this, is they end up, first of all, they present themselves as an available Filipina, single, whatever, maybe separated, but again, that's not going to be really delved into. And they're going down that path to attract viewers that are, again, over 50, looking to retire and move to the Philippines, all that. And what they don't realize is that they are showing their hand. They are divulging that they are not the type of Filipina any guy's going to get serious about. Now, they will still get views. Guys will still watch their channel, but instead of it being, oh, that's a Filipina I would like to meet, maybe we could get a relationship, maybe that's my future wife I'm looking at. Instead of that, they're looking at the channel and they're going, okay, this Filipina, there's no way in hell I would make her my girlfriend. You know what I'm saying? It's like she is not wife material, but she's fun to watch because, how do I put this nicely? She's not a good girl. You know, she might be just into all kinds of topics that really are probably best left not discussed in open video, especially where kids can start watching this, about everything from, threesomes to, you name it, what do Filipinas do in the bedroom? And I mean, some of the topics, it's like the bar keeps getting lower and lower and lower and lower, what some of these Filipinas are willing to talk about. And sometimes they'll get together 2, 3 at a time, and they're like, oh yeah, I do this, I do that, whatever, and it's like, it's what I call salacious content. It's not there to really educate you on how to live in the Philippines. It's just, low-hanging fruit entertainment, And again, these are not women, this is what they don't realize. These are not women who are improving their odds of meeting a quality expat guy. These are women who are making it very clear, without them realizing it maybe, that they're just a good time girl. They're not the kind of woman any guy would ever, unless he's just a complete dumbass, no sane, reasonable guy would hitch his wagon to this kind of woman, who's a partier, just constantly one lover after another, just has no filter in her language, let's just say unsophisticated, okay? So you've got that element where the views are there, but the real valuable content is not there. Then you've got channels that are even lower than that, where some Filipinas have figured out, well, all I got to do is turn on the camera, put it on a tripod in the bedroom, whatever, and she just comes out and tries bikinis on. She just comes out like, okay, here's the yellow one, comment if you like this one. Okay, I'll go put on the red one. Okay, now here's the blue one. Vote on which one you like most. See you tomorrow, whatever. I mean, there's no educational value there at all. So here's the dichotomy that I find myself in, that I've talked about with other vloggers offline, just personal friends that are also vloggers, as well as friends who are not vloggers who can give me their opinion as a viewer. And here's the dichotomy, and the decision I made a long time ago is I could go down that route, not as a Filipina. I could go down that route and just engage in the low-hanging fruit, the salacious content, 5 things that Filipinas will do or not do in bed. I mean, that whole area. I could do that and probably get views from guys that are like into that, which there seem to be a lot of them. But what I have done from day one till now, consistently, is my mission statement with every video I've done has been to accomplish one of 2 things. And if you really think about it and you look back over all my titles, it's one of 2 types of videos I do. One is dangers you should be aware of so that you can avoid those pitfalls. Look out for this, look out for that. How to handle your finances, how to handle your relationships, how to handle your adjustment period into the Philippines, okay? The other part of my mission statement has been how to optimize your life in the Philippines. How to make the most of being a single guy, how to make the most of being married to a Filipina, how to make the most of the fact that you're in the Philippines, Southeast Asia. You can hop over to Cambodia, Vietnam, Thailand very easily. Those sort of things, as well as, here's tips on how to find your nearest immigration office, that kind of thing. So it's either dodging the problems or optimizing your experience. Now, this falls under the heading of education, information. That's what my channel is about. It's education and information, okay? The other side of vlogging has to do more with entertainment. So here's the dichotomy. My choice, and every choice of every vlogger out there, becomes, do I focus on entertainment and stand a better chance of getting more views, because a lot of people they just want, something entertaining and something that's going to divert their mind or feed that, again, just sort of visceral, lower brow, desire to hear about, what goes on behind closed doors of Filipinas kind of thing. So they can choose to do that and get more views, or in my case, I said to myself, even if it means less views, I would rather educate people. And I look at every video I do as like a 10-minute classroom, sometimes 25 minutes. I want to give you guys something that is useful. I'm not in the entertainment business. I'm in the education business. I'm here to help you guys have a better experience when you get here. Now, there are less people interested in preparation than there are guys who just want to know the details of the fantasy life. See what I'm saying? So that's a choice every content creator has to make. Do I go for less views, but I'm helping people, or more views with a bunch of superfluous fluff? And, so I decided 2 years ago to just take my face off of the channel, because who I am and what's going on in my life is not really what I want to share. I'm not anybody special. I'm just a guy living in the Philippines for 13 years, since 2012. And yes, I'm married and all that, but do I want to make my marriage, my personal life, and where I live, and all these details, do I really want to throw that on YouTube, knowing that there's a lot of crazy people out there? There's a lot of whack jobs. I mean, numerically, they probably only make up 1 or 2%, but again, numerically, there's too many crazy people out there. Personally, I don't think it's a good idea. And that's why I chose. 2 years ago, I privatized every video that was about my personal life. Those are no longer available. And that meant chopping about 2,000 videos. Remember, I've been doing this for 13 years. I chopped over 2,000 videos offline. That's how important I thought it was. And 2 years ago, I went to a podcast format because I want the emphasis to be on the information shared. Now, because YouTube wants something on the screen, I first thought, well, I'll just put a picture of the beach, just a picture, not a video. I thought, I'll just put a picture of the beach and then I'll have my voice in the background. But even I thought, well, that's kind of boring, not for truck drivers and all that who, they can't look at the screen anyway. They're just listening, so, but I thought, well, okay, I'll put something on the screen. And so I started, AI was a big thing 2 years ago. I jumped into it, it got a good reception. People really liked it. But now, AI is kind of overdone. It's become a bit blasé. So I made the decision about 4 months ago. I was like, okay, I'll once in a while use some AI to make the slideshow, but I went ahead and paid a good amount of money to get really high quality stock footage. And, those are like little, anywhere from 3 to 10-second clips. And I pretty much try to get the clips to sort of match the topic of that video. But it's not a scene for scene kind of, visual. It's just, again, something to look at while you're listening. So my channel is basically, this is the decision I made to take, a podcast, which just happens to be on YouTube. And there are other channels that, in fact, pretty much I would say more than half of the cryptocurrency vloggers that I watch on YouTube, I don't know what they look like. They never show up on screen. Everything on the screen is charts and, screenshots of news articles or whatever. Like there's a guy, Moon Lambo. I listen to him almost every day. I have no clue what he looks like. I guess I share all this to ask you as a viewer, what means the most to you when you're searching through YouTube for information about the Philippines? Is it the information or is it the entertainment? One time I did a deep dive on how many passports are held by men in the United States. The number of those who actually go to the Philippines, even for like more than 2-3 weeks, is incredibly low, which means most of the guys who haven't even taken the bother to get a passport, including the guys who did get the passport, most of them are watching Philippines-related videos on YouTube with no intention of going, no real plan. They are not telling themselves, I'm gonna fly there in 3 months, or I'm gonna fly there in 6 months, I'm gonna fly there next month. A lot of guys never make it to that step. So it makes sense. A lot of the channels that guys watch about the Philippines are entertainment oriented. Again, sort of vicariously living the dream from afar. It's sort of escapism. But then you have the minority of guys that they don't want to hear 20 minutes of Filipinas talking about bedroom talk. What they want to know, how do I get a visa? How do I find an apartment long term? What sort of things should I be worried about when I get there? They're looking to prepare. Now, that's a lower number of guys who are willing to actually pull the trigger. And I'm okay with that. Believe me, if I was not okay with that, if all I wanted was more views, I could just flip over and just do the sort of fluff that a lot of other channels are doing. But my choice is no. Again, I created the channel to help people, and it's not even about the money. I did my channel the first 8 months with no AdSense. I just did it for the hell of it. I didn't even know you could get paid to do YouTube. It wasn't until 8 months later somebody told me about it. I was already doing videos just for the hell of it, just to help guys out. And nothing has changed. That's my decision. I've already got my Social Security. I've already got dividends from my investments. I'm not in this for the money. I'll make that very clear. I mean, the money's nice, and I usually invest it or help out my wife's family, but I don't need this money from AdSense. It helps, it's nice, but I got plenty of other money to handle all my expenses. So I'm doing this to, again, educate and prepare the guys that are serious about flying over here, whether it's for a 2-week visit or to move here permanently and retire. And not just here. Again, I'll talk about Vietnam and I'll talk about Thailand as well. But I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you want? When you go looking through Philippines content, what are you drawn to? And what do you think about, again, all this bedroom talk by Filipinas? There's another channel, and I forget the name of it, but it's pretty popular, and it gets a lot of subscribers. But if you honestly listen to the script, the words coming out of this Filipina, it's written by an expat. Or it's written by an expat using ChatGPT. I mean, probably behind the camera, there's probably a script or whatever. But you can just tell. I know. I've been living here since 2012. I know what Filipinas talk like. I've known plenty of Filipinas that have great English, and they don't talk like that. She's, reading from a script and whatever. And okay, that's fine. That's how they want to do it. That's their format. Fine. But just understand, you're not getting something from the heart. You're getting a script, and a lot of it is tweaked, again, to be salacious and, provocative rather than preparatory and educational. So love to hear your thoughts about all the different types of channels out there, the bikini girls, the dirty talk girls, the educational expats. There's expats who have channels where, it's more like them sharing their personality. And you've gotten to know, you've become familiar with this or that expat vlogger Like, for instance, my good buddy, Old Dog Paul. Lots of guys watch his channel because he's a cool guy. That's the way he is in person. I've known him since years before he started his channel. He's that kind of guy. He's a cool guy to hang out with. So, you've got all these different reasons and formats. I'd like to hear from you. What do you prefer? What are you drawn to? Do you want information? Do you want entertainment? So anyways, see you there in the comments. And I don't know, I can't promise I'll be on camera all the time, but if you like that, then let me know. Maybe I'll do it more often. Okay? Catch you guys later.